Hi, today I wanted to share my warm-up for every practice session, no matter what time of the day or whether I've already practiced earlier in the day. I always start with my scales and arpeggios, and I take this from the Carl Flesch scale system. So I'll start with the scale and then I'll go to the arpeggios. With the scale, I'm looking for just your basic good sound. I would say maybe a mezzo forte to forte dynamic with even strokes, and you want to make sure that you are compensating for the weight of the bow. So the frog here is going to be heavier than your tip, and so I'm going to want to increase the weight that I use, whatever word you want to use, so that if you're thinking just what is physically necessary, it's almost as if you're making a tiny crescendo throughout your bow, but only so that you can maintain the same volume. If you don't change anything physically, it's going to sound like a taper, just because the weight of the bow decreases as you go to the tip. So you're going to look for even strokes like that, smooth bow changes, smooth string changes, and I'm also going to refrain from using any vibrato, because I want to just have that establishment for a good intonation early in my practice session. So looking for good intonation. But also, I think an important thing to remember is when we're starting off our practice session, our muscles aren't as warmed up, and so if you want to just use fewer muscles to begin with and less intensity, I would suggest no vibrato to begin with, and then you can add vibrato later. There are other methods to go about this and still be able to practice vibrato right from the start, but this is one way, and it's the most common way that I tend to practice and use a warm-up. So without further ado, this is the Carl Flesch scale in E flat major. I'm going to start with 2 notes per bow and increase in number of notes per bow, but the speed of each blow length is going to stay the same, and you'll see what I mean when I play. Next, I want to do my arpeggios, which are also from Carl Flesch's scale system, and something that you can pay attention to which applies to both scales and arpeggios, but I think is more obvious for arpeggios when you're making bigger shifts between positions, is smooth shifting. So the way to do that is to make sure that you're using a smooth and slow as possible motion between note to note. Slow enough that it's gradual, but fast enough that you're getting to your next note in time in the tempo you're using. What I mean by that is you don't want to be too jerky or fast, because that'll stick out when you play a faster tempo. So you want to look out for smooth shifts. You still want to maintain no vibrato for good intonation and being able to hear that. And same things as we were looking at before. Same bow strokes, smooth bow strokes, even tones, and smooth changes between bows and strings. So those are my scales and arpeggios. This is what I do before I practice any music, just so that my fingers and my muscles are a little bit more warmed up for the session. I hope that was helpful.